Hello everyone, Ceri the Crafter here, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter, and I was going to do some crafting today on my own. I thought, why not just turn the video on and take you along with me? So, today's project, I need to make some corner tuck spots for some journals I'm doing, and I tend to batch make. My feeling is if I'm going to make one of something, I might as well make 10 of something and then they go into my stash. So I thought I'd bring you along. I'm using a bit of 12 by 12 that, to be honest with you, not my favourite. Probably wouldn't use it for anything else. So that's what I'm using as my base. I'm also going to be using scraps. So I've got my box of plain scraps here, and what I do is I've got a box of plain and I've got a box of printed, and by plain I mean they're things I could use for the back of things, tags, stuff like that, but I also have coffee dyed and I have other stuff in here obviously that I will use because not everything needs to be patterned. So let's put that one to one side, and then the other one I've got is I'm just going to use, it's got like music paper and text, and there I'm knocking stuff over already, just stuff. So what I'm going to do is I like to work quite quickly, and I want to work in such a fashion that maybe I'll take one from this box and one from the other box and one from this one, just so that I'm not thinking too much about the collage I'm creating, because I'm not sure which journals these are going to go into. And these corner tuck spots are just going to be bases that then can be decorated afterwards when they've got the theme of the journal they're going into. So first thing I'm going to do is, because I know the size I want stuff, I'm going to divide this into 4 by 4, and that, I mean, sorry, 3 by 3. So I'm going to do 4 inches. I'm going to use this to measure 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll end up with 12 pieces when I've finished, and then those will get cut in half, and that will give me 24 corners. I like to work like this just because of the way it works for me, to be honest. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I first saw the technique of dividing the 12 by 12 up as a guide when I watched a live with Margaret Miller a while ago, and it sort of sparked something in my grey matter, and I went, what a great idea, because a lot of the times when I'm doing stuff I don't necessarily draw them out, and because I'm doing them as one large piece, I want to make sure that the pieces of paper that I'm putting on as the collage are actually in proportion. There's also another thing too, and it's quite prevalent with what we're going to do today. If I'm going to do corner tucks, the points of the corners pretty much don't need to be on the join. So there we go. First bit of it, I've divided it into 12. I've divided it into 9. There, I can't count it this morning. 3, 6, 9. Okay, then I'm going to come and join these in. So what I'm doing is I'm actually outlining where I'm going to eventually cut. Now these marks will disappear the moment I start collaging, but for me it works really well because it's a visual reference for me to actually remember the proportions of the final pieces, if that all makes sense. I mean, we do know me, I do tend to overthink things sometimes, but this just, as I said, it helps me. And there's the last one there. So as you can see, or hopefully you can see, I mean, I don't think you see yet, if I tilt it slightly you'll see the pencil marks. So each square is divided into 2, so these will become corner tucks. So let's move that over slightly to one side, don't need the pencil anymore. Now when I saw Margaret Miller do this, she was actually making postcards. So what she did, I believe she divided hers into 4 inches and then divided this in half, so she had 6 by 4 postcards, which she then put postcard labels on the back and actually mailed them out, which I thought was a really great idea. It's not what I'm doing here, but I thought it was a really good idea. I've got my glue book, so if you see me over in this corner doing something, it's gluing, and I've got my Pritt sticks. Now I'm eventually going to sew these, however you don't need to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make these, cut these, and then stop so we can look at them unsewn. Then I'm going to put you on pause. I'm going to go away and sew off camera, then I'm going to come back and show you what they look like actually sewn, just so you can see what the difference is. It's your choice whether you do that or not. So, right, now the reason I've done this is these areas here are the ones I want to try and make sure there's a nice piece of something over them to start with, so that I know that when I cut them I don't have any edges along the cut line. So I'm just, as I said, I'm going to try and be as random as I can in my choice of papers, and I'm just going to lay these out. Now, I do tend to work in verticals or horizontals, as you've seen before. I think if things are set on an angle, a lot of the time you'll find that they look like they're leading the eye off the page. But, oh, that was a stupid tear, wasn't it? So basically, you can do whatever you like. I'm just explaining what I do. Now, I really love this edge here, so for me, that's going to be a corner on the glue book again. So I wonder how everyone's doing out there. I mean, I thought I'd just bring you for a craft along, because a lot of the time I'll just sit here in my craft room and I'll work away and I forget to turn the camera on, to be honest with you. But as I said before, if I'm making stuff like, say I'm making tags or I'm making pockets, I will actually just sit down and make 10 or 20 of them as bases, because that way when I come to do the decorating, I've just got to pick up the bases. I know they're already done. As a lot of you know, I have an Etsy store and I sell things like digital downloads of tag bases and stuff like that. So there are things already done for you there, should you just wish to be even quicker at it and just buy a digital, print it onto cardstock, and then it's done. Now, as normal, these pieces I'm tearing off don't get thrown away. They get put into a box, and once they're in the box, eventually I'll turn them into tag bases or something like that. Now, because this is just a random make, should I say, I'm not worried what the theme of the papers are that I'm putting on here, because I don't know eventually what this is going into. So it's a great way of scrap busting. Now, I'm sure this method of making has been done by many people. I know I've heard the term mass makes. I tend to call it batch making, but that's just me. Probably because I'm a baker and a confectioner, so when we do a batch bake, we're baking a lot of things at the same time. So that's probably where that comes from with me. Let's put that one there, actually. Now, I don't necessarily mind torn edges. I don't necessarily mind straight edges, because I don't mind. At the end of the day, these are all going to be layered up. I try to add a little bit of interest whereas I can as I go along. However, I'm not going to get paranoid about it. I just want to put pieces down on the paper that makes sense. So let's just, my fingers are getting sticky already, so let's use a bit of text as well. There you go. Now, I'm making these into corner tuck spots. You could easily make these into anything you want. As you just heard me say, I did see Margaret Miller do postcards which she mailed out from this. You could make journal cards, tuck spots. I mean, this is not something that's brand new or unique to me. I've seen this sort of thing done lots and lots of times. But as I said, I just wanted to take you along for the journey. Now, this is overlapped slightly down there. I don't mind. I can trim that off later on. I'm not going to worry about that. Right, so let's see if we can get some more interest on this page. Right, there's someone else's digital, so I'm just going to use that and add that, because we will sometimes have digitals hanging around our boxes, so we might as well just use them up. I mean, a lot of people will say, well, why are you tearing apart a collage to make a collage? Because it's a scrap. I've obviously had this from something else. I'm not quite sure what I used it for. It might have actually been for part of the collage challenge I'm doing at the moment with Margaret Miller, so, but who knows. So I'm just going to tear this relatively small-ish, and I think that little bit can just go back in the box because it's not hugely interesting. So something else I like to do too is once I've done a few pieces, I'll turn it once, because I never know which direction these are going to end up in. So I never focus on having anything in one particular direction, because once it's cut up and turned round and finished off and decorated, does it really matter to me? No, it doesn't. So let's put that in there, I think. So, ooh, I don't like that little white bit there. And tear that off if I can. I've got another little white bit, but that's fine, because at the end of this, I'm probably going to put things like washi tapes over here. I might put some postage stamps on it. Might put a couple of little labels on here. And what I'm doing currently is I'm just building up a base layer. I'm just putting stuff on here that's going to give me something of interest as I cut. Now, all the time, these divisions are actually helping me remember the dimensions of what's underneath. As I said, eventually they're all going to get covered up, but it helps me proportionally work out how much I need and where I need it. Let's put you right across there, I think. There you go. So there you go, that's that. Let's go back to the plain box and see what's in the plain box. I don't mind putting things like lined paper in, but I do tend to keep that for the backs. If I'm going to be doing anything like that, oh, there's a piece, I'll use that. If I'm going to be doing anything that's got lines on it, normally it goes onto the back, unless it's a little label or something. So just rummaging through these. There's a bit of ledger paper. Sorry, I can't continually pull this box in, guys, so please forgive me on that one. Let's go through this one a bit. There you go. Oh, those are quite different. Actually, I've got more of those. Where are those? Oh, another piece of ledger. Yes, I might use some of those. I'm not sure. A little bit shiny for what I normally use, but there's a cute piece. And also in the end, all of these are going to be cut up. So I don't even know where things are going to sit on the pages when I finally cut them. And I think that's actually quite exciting. Oh look, there's even a piece of one of my digitals there. So will I use that? Maybe I will use that. I'll tear that up in a minute. So right, let's pull this little pile out of the way so it's not blocking your view of anything. Let's put this bit of ledger down. I think I'm due to change my glue page again. Let's get it out sticky. So let's put a little bit of ledger along the bottom there. There you go. Developments here in the UK. Well, they're talking about coming out of lockdown, which I'm so excited about. They're talking about opening the shops up again, which, believe me, I so need to go to Hobbycraft. I am so low on craft supplies at the moment, it scares me. I don't think I've ever been this low on craft supplies. And yes, I could be ordering them online, but once I order them online, they cost me a fortune in P&P. And to be honest with you, when I buy a product, maybe I'm being a bit old school in my thinking, but I want to pick it up, I want to touch it, I want to feel it, I want to turn it around, I want to see what it's like on the other side, I want to see whether the weight of it's correct. Especially if I'm buying something like fabric, I want to make sure that it'll suit what I'm doing exactly. So I'm having a meltdown moment. I think I want to put that there. Well, too late if I don't, because it's on there now. So straight would be a better idea though, Griffiths. So there you go. So yes, I'm looking forward to the shops opening up again. Besides other things, I mean, I'm not a huge clothes shopper, but we've been in lockdown here with no clothes shopping since before Christmas. I could really do with a little bit of a clothes shop just for the basics. I mean, good grief. I mean, well, just for the basics. Let's put it that way, shall we? Yes, I did like that piece. Let's see if I fit that in somewhere. I was seeing on the internet the other day that even though New York's Broadway is closed and London's West End is closed, Australia is beginning to open up its theatres, which I am very excited about because as you know, I'm an ex-dancer, and I still have lots and lots of friends, and I used to live in Australia. So knowing that my friends are actually, I'm going to do another quarter turn, knowing that my friends are actually able to go back to work again is just, it's fabulous. It really is, because, well, what do? If you're an entertainer, or if you're a dancer or a singer, you just sit around and you try and do vocal practices, you try and work out to stay fit. But the thing is there's nothing that will give you the endurance that doing a show would actually give you. Let's put that one on the floor because it's beginning to annoy me. That a real show would give you. I mean, you can go to the gym and you can run on a treadmill as much as you like, but it's never going to replace doing 8 shows a week in the West End where you're singing and you're dancing at the same time, and the stamina that builds up and the lung strength. And some of my friends have been, well, the theatres have been dark for almost a year now. It's like, that's got to be soul destroying. I mean, you've spent all your life training, you fought really hard to get somewhere on Broadway or on the West End, and then what happens, a virus hits and it all goes belly up. And some of the shows, I'm sure, are probably never going to open again, because show business runs on a budget, guys, like everything else, and it's a very expensive venture running shows. So I don't know. I'm hopeful for theatre coming back. I didn't used to go a lot because, well, to be honest, it was just a little bit beyond my own personal budget. However, I am very, very pleased that it is going to come back. Right, little strips like this are actually really good to use as well. I know they don't seem a lot to you, but if you just put pieces of these in here and there, they'll give you places when you eventually do it and use it for something to actually be an area you could stamp. Not everything needs to have a pattern on it. So that's another important thing to remember when you're actually collaging. Not everything needs to be pretty and patterned. You need what I would probably call a quiet space in the collage, so you can actually do stuff that's not going to be too busy to the eye, because the smaller these pieces get, the more busy those areas will look. So let's just put this one in here. Now, all I'm doing at this moment, as I've already said, is I'm literally just building a foundation onto which I will then put smaller elements like washi, maybe some stickers. We might end up putting butterflies, because I always put butterflies on everything. I do feel there's not enough text on this page, so I need to get some text involved. Actually, there's no music on this page either, so let's put some music in. Now, that's another thing I do if I'm working on collage, is if I've pulled a piece of paper out, I'm not going to tear just one strip. I'm going to tear several strips, and that means that when I put them back in my bits and pieces box, they're already torn for the next bit. So, I mean, I may not use all of these. I very much doubt I'll use all of these. But that's just another trick I have for speeding myself up, because that means the next time I do collage, if I'm looking for a bit of music paper, well, it may already be the right size. I can just reach in and pull it out. So something else that might speed you up. I'm also someone who does tend to work in threes. So if there's one piece of paper on here of a certain pattern, I'll usually put 3. I try to get myself out of that whenever I can, because I'm OCD, which means that I really like to line things up. I really like to stick by the rules. And you know what? Sometimes that's not as exciting as it could be. Right, I think I want one little bit in there. Although I quite like the thought of it going a little wider. I don't want that as a straight line. So let's put glue on that one. So, if you are someone who's been watching the Collage Challenge 2021 with Margaret Miller, how are you finding it? I'm enjoying doing it, and if you haven't seen any, you're possibly on my YouTube channel at the moment. If you go to the playlists and look for Margaret Miller Collage Channel Collage Channel Challenge. I can't speak this morning. Have we noticed that, guys? 2021, you'll find it. Right, where were these other pieces I was going to put in? Right, I quite like that. It's a random piece. I don't mind that in there. And basically, for those who are unfamiliar with it, you have a planner, or you can have a glue book, or a repurposed book of your own if you haven't got the planner itself. And there are weekly prompts which you can buy in advance, or I think they may be posted somewhere, I'm not sure, of what you're able to use on the pages for collage. So I'm finding it quite exciting because it's actually making me think outside the box. I'm doing stuff that I wouldn't usually use a bus ticket, or I'm not a great lover of reaching for pictures of people, or what was the other one that got me? Foreign languages. That's the one that's really been throwing me, because I don't really have a lot of books that have got foreign languages in, so I struggle with that. Right, I'm going to do another quarter turn, just so nothing is directional. Nothing, it's the whole collage doesn't all just face one particular way. So there you go. There you go. Let's see, who else can I talk about? Okay, there's a few people I subscribe to on YouTube, which I would recommend anyone subscribe to, really, if you're into junk journaling, or you're into collage work, or mixed media. I mean, have a look for Gayle Augustinelli, Gayle. I can't spell Augustinelli, so you'll just have to find that bit. Gayle Augustinelli's work is fabulous, great. She breaks everything down. She calls herself the bumbling crafter sometimes, and I absolutely love her for it, because she just has a go, which is a lot of time what I do as well. And she's very experimental in some of the things she does. She'll do it on screen for the first time and go, right, never done that before, let's see how it works. I admire her bravery for that. There's Tracy Fox from Love Junk Journals. Love her work. She's really talented when it comes to digital work. She does lots of beautiful digital kits, and then there's, well, her work just keeps on going. I love her work. She's fabulous. Who else is there? There's Tina from Shabby Dabby Doodah. There's Doreen from... Where's Doreen from? Oh my gosh, I've forgotten the name of it. I can't pronounce it properly. Ooh La La Vintage Treasures. I believe that's what it's called. I sometimes get that mixed up with other things, but I think that's the correct one. So is there anyone out there that you absolutely love and recommend? I mean, I'm more than willing to discover a new person. If you've got someone you absolutely love watching who does junk journaling or mixed media, because I do mixed media as well, it would be great to see it in the comments, because firstly, I like to promote where I can promote, and secondly, it wouldn't hurt me to discover other people as well. But there's a huge community out there, and they're all very talented people. Okay, right, let's stop for a second. I've just got this bit to go. I thought I'd done it all, but obviously not. Right, there's so much pattern here. For me, that definitely needs a bit of quiet time in there. So I'm not going to bother with the tear ruler with this bit, because I don't think I'm going to need it. So, and then we're going to look at what else we can do. Now, for me, this is what I call a base layer. I've just put stuff on here. It's all laid out. Right, I obviously don't want that bit there, so I'm going to have to try and find another piece of something plain, or plain-ish. That's okay, let's put a piece of that there. So, I think this is part of a digital of mine as well. I'm sure I've got a plain music sheet downloadable in my Etsy shop, which by the way is called Ceri the Crafter. I'll do all the social media links at the end of this one, guys. So let's pop that bit in. Right, so at this point I'm going to get rid of the big boxes because they're no longer needed, and I'm going to bring in some smaller stuff, because as I said, that's my groundwork. That's all of the stuff done normally, and there's no rules to this, guys. This is just me sharing with you how I actually work. Now, I do remember one of these areas, this one, needed trimming down. So I need to trim that down while I remember it. There you go. There's another bit that needs trimming. The reason I trim these as I go is, get the glue off your scissors, Griffiths, is because when I want to put this through my guillotine, I need these edges to be straight or it will throw the whole design off. Right, we'll double check that later anyway. Okay, so now I've got stuff stuck to me all over the place. So, right, my next stop is normally, or step, is normally my washi supplies. I've got just a couple of boxes of washies. I do love my washi tapes. I do use them, probably a lot more than a lot of people use their washi tape. But what I always do is I do stick it down with some Pritt stick, because I'm not a great believer that washi tape is meant to be permanent. It's designed to be replaceable or liftable or whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to get my washi, my Pritt stick. And Pritt stick just happens to be the brand I'm using. I would say most glue sticks work. The trick is to put enough glue on the glue stick to start with. I am quite heavy with my glue sticks, so that really helps me. Now, when I come to washi, I do tend to stick to my rule of threes, only because you can get carried away with washi and then eventually it just ends up like a page full of washi. So up to you entirely, but I do like to put it on in threes. That also means that I have the chance to put a variety of washes on instead of just one, because remember, each of these corner tucks is potentially going to be in a different journal anyway, so we can't exactly say where they're going to go. So I will just put whatever I want on there. So that's another trick I use, is once I've used a washi, I put it to one side, because otherwise I'll grab the same washi again. So there you go, let's go to there. Fingers being really sticky at the moment. So I've got some music on there. I'd like to put some of this. I'm not purposely using black and white, it just happens these are ones that I actually quite like. So, and a piece of washi doesn't need to be as long as this, it can just be a little accent piece somewhere. Because eventually these will all be decorated, I will sometimes use the same washi that's on it to decorate it afterwards. So that's one piece down there. So for instance, I can just take a little piece like that, and that's just enough to bring a little bit of something to one of the corner pieces or tags or journal cards. I think it needs one up there as well. So I think we need to go to something more, maybe a little more colourful after this one. I think, let's see what we've got going on. So it's March 2021 here, and although it's not a sunny day, it's certainly not winter, which is lovely. The daffodils are all out, the crocus are all out. Again, put that to one side. It's really nice to see everything out and about. I'm going to see if I can get a wet wipe. Actually, I'm getting a bit hung up on stickiness here. I don't usually use wet wipes while I'm working, because I do find that it can make my fingers wet, and then I end up making whatever I'm working on wet. But you know, that'll be fine. Right, let's see if we can pull in some colour to this, or something that's a little more interesting. I don't really want to do too vintagey stuff. I do, that's quite nice, isn't it? I don't hate it when your washi splits. There you go, it's back to normal. Let's take that bit, and I won't throw that away. I'll put it to one side because I can use scraps later. So if I just take a little bit of that, I'm not going to use 3 pieces of this, because to me that's a heck of a size piece and it will just dominate if I do. But I do have a couple of areas on this collage where I could probably put a bigger piece and it's not going to cause much problem, like right across there. And it will just disappear into the background. It will just become another layer. So as I said, I've just used one of those. Right, I was looking for something with a bit of colour in it. Now I do have these. although they've got sparkle in them, and I don't really want anything that's got sparkle in it. Right, there's blue in this one and there's blue on here, so I think a couple of these, if I can find the end. Where is the end? Is that the end? That is the end. Right, a couple of these, and then I think we'll reach for some postage stamps after that, because I like to use postage stamps in my collage as well. They're just miniature pieces of art and I love them, and I've got lots of them, so that's also helpful. You could come in here and you could easily have put napkins in here, you could have put tissue paper, you could have done some other art techniques over the top of this. Completely up to you. I think that's why I like collage, because there are no rules. Collage is just collage. So put that bit in there. I think this bit needs something down here, so I've got a feeling that's probably going to be the location for a couple of postage stamps in a minute. So let's put a strip of this up there. Okay, I think we should stop with the washi tape now, because if I don't, it'll just become a washi tape spread, and that's not my intent. Right, let's pull the glue book back in. Right, now, the camera may wobble slightly because I actually forgot to pick up my stamp album before I walked over here, so forgive me, it's probably going to go a little wobbly, and I'd hope I don't make anyone seasick. Right, I'm back. You don't look like you wobble too much. So I've got some stamps in here, and I've got stamps in here as well, so I'm going to flick through. So looking at that could do with probably some red. Let's pull that red stamp out because I quite like that. What I would suggest though is when you're actually working with this and you know you're going to cut it smaller, try to use smaller stamps. I don't really have any small butterflies. Let's take, I can't get the plastic off this one. Let's take that butterfly and potentially that one, because it's got smaller areas onto it. So there's a couple of butterflies on there. What else is on there? And a mushroom. Let's just take a couple of generic stamps now. As you can see, I've been harvesting this book a lot. Where should we go for stamps? Right, that one's interesting because even if it's cut up, it's got colour in it. I don't want to put things like this because they're a whole picture. I know that sounds bizarre, but they're a whole picture. Like, I don't mind this one here from Indonesia. Again, it's got some purple in it, and I've already got some purple there. No, I don't like that one at the moment. Things like these are really good because they're just little accent pieces. If I can get them off the page. Where is this? This is Germany. Hello, Germany. Let's take a couple of those off there. Right, I think that'll probably do for the postage stamps. We've got a fair few of them there. So let's just move those to one side and start work on this spread. Right. Now, I did say this area down here needed something, so I think we're going to put a reasonably big stamp down there. It may or may not get cut in half, but what I do know is if I put it in the corner, the worst case scenario is going to be cut that way or cut that way, so we should be fine. I think I need something over here as well. Let's just pop you in there, whoever you are. That's Mr. Indonesia. Right, go do myself a quarter turn. I do think that's asking for something right in the middle of there. So let's pop that on there. Oops, I've stuck it to my glue book. Obviously, time for a new glue page, people. So you can go in there. That looks like it needs a little something. And the word little means what I mean it to mean. Right, a little bit right in there. Just stick it that way. It's quite nicely framed in there. So another quarter turn right. For me, this bit here needs something. It's too big an area of patterns. That can go in there. So why do I like collage? I like collage because I can just do collage. I don't have to think too hard. I do hold down a lot of other interests and jobs, and sometimes thinking things can get a little bit intensive, should we say, or stressful. So I like to do collage because you don't really have to think with collage. I mean, that's not insulting collage at all. You don't really have to go, ooh, what am I doing? What am I doing? Am I doing it right? Whatever you do is right, and I like that about collage. So let's put this last bit on. Oh, I think I'm down to the end of a glue stick again. That's one thing about collage. You will go through a lot of glue stick. So, right. So let's have a quick look at this page before I decide whether it's done or not. This area looks like it needs something, and that area looks like it needs something, and that. So we're looking for 3, and I'm going to stick with the stamp option because I don't want to be pulling out more and more washi tape. I'm going to go with these little French stamps, I think, because those are really cute, and they've got several different colours of them. And it's funny because when I do journals, French stuff does seem to rear its head occasionally. Probably because of Paris and love and all of that lot. Not that I do lots of wishy-washy love sort of things, but it does tend to rear its head occasionally, the French stuff, especially when I'm using rice papers, funnily enough. So if I pop you, actually I might pop you right on the end of that bit of washi. If you stay where you put. I wanted one up there. I think green up there is going to be a nice colour. Now remember, a background is a background. I'm not looking to make a featured anything. I'm looking just to make a background. I mean, some of you will probably go, well, there doesn't need any more decoration on this anyway. I disagree with you, but that's just my opinion. Once they're cut smaller, they then become little canvases for you actually to build whatever you want to build on top of. So, right. So let's clear the decks a bit. Let's get all of this stuff out of my way so I don't get stuck to everything. Normally I would let this dry for a little while before I did the next step, but as you're all watching, and I don't like to edit videos too much, it looks like I've got a little bit of pulling up there. I like to do a lot of my videos in real time. The only exception will be, obviously, is when I do the stitching. Because I don't need to sit here sewing. Now, what I would say is if you're going to make one of these, I do believe some people call them master boards. Take a picture of it or put it on a scanner or something. Granted, your scanner may only be like A4 or letter size, so scan it. If you've got A4, scan it that way, then turn it and scan it that way. So you've got different options, and then you've got them digitally. So if you really like this spread, you could then go ahead and actually use it in the future for something else. So just by printing it out again. And if you want this vibrancy of colour, what you need to do is print on presentation paper, or matte photo paper is another one, or satin photo paper. Right, I'm just checking the back to make sure there's no bits that are hanging over. So I now need to pull in my guillotine. Now, I literally do use a guillotine. I use one of these. I've tried one of the trimmers. Trimmers and I do not get on very well. Let's just put it to that, shall we? So I'm just going to line this up. I'll bring this through actually because I need to do it from this way. And our first job is I'm going to cut this into 4s. Hopefully it will cut without tearing or anything, because obviously all of the glue's possibly still damp in here. As I said, I normally wait until everything's dry. So I've done my strips of 4. Obviously I'm making this into corner tucks. You can make these into anything you want. Just cut them to the size you want. That's 1. we'll look at the squares before I cut them into corners in a minute, just because you can see how these could easily have become journaling cards. So yeah, I don't know what it is about me and trimmers. I don't get on well with them. They don't seem to cut in a straight line for me, and I know that sounds absolutely stupid because a trimmer is mechanically meant to cut in a straight line, but they don't cut in a straight line for me. Right, let's have a look at the squares before I cut them into triangles. So see, oops, drop it, Griffiths. That's a really lovely journal card. Again, interesting journal card. So you don't really need to think too much. You just need to get on with it. I mean, that with a bit of an embellishment on would look great. I mean, there you go. That's quite a plain one. But you know what? If you were to put a sticker on there or put a label or a feature on there, that would look great. Again, pretty. All of these are just general cards that could go into any of the journals you're doing. Right, now I'm going to do these corner to corner. This bit I'm always a bit wary of because there isn't a way of really lining these up. I always find this is a bit hit and miss. To be honest, I would probably come in with a ruler and a scalpel and cut these, but as we're doing everything via this method, we're going to keep doing it with this method. Where are we? There you go. Now you can, of course, when you're about to cut them, if you're looking and going, oh, that's too pretty, don't forget you have the ability to change where the corners are going to be. So always look at your cards before you chop them, because you may go, oh, I really like that postage stamp, like this one here. I didn't intentionally keep that postage stamp, but there you go, he's in the corner. Like with this one, I know if I cut it this way, I'm going to cut his head in half. If I cut it this way, I'm just going to cut the corner off that. So maybe I want to go, right, I'm going to keep that element on there. Last couple. Sorry, when I'm concentrating, I find it hard to talk as well. So see here, if I cut that way, I cut it in half. But if I cut it that way, I preserve the stamp. So just look before you go in and start cutting them all up, because to be honest, you can make some nice decisions that way. Right, we're almost done. This is the last one. So let's put the guillotine out of the way and take a look at what we've created. Now, as I said, in a minute I'm going to pause the video for you, stop it for me obviously, and then I'm going to sew around these just to show how sewing actually does make a difference. But at this point they're finished. See, that's quite a nice one, and also it can be in either direction. This one we managed to keep her. Now, she would be upside down or she'd be on the side. I don't mind. Put it in the top corner and make it a decorative element. Again, really pretty, and you can see, look, there's the one we preserved, the one where we kept the stamp and we thought it was. Don't mind that on the side. I mean, obviously I'm turning them to the right, but they could easily be turned to the left, because these are just backgrounds, people, so you can make them any which way you want in any corner. Again, he's ended up as a top, but I don't mind him on the side. It's a background. I mean, there's a really plain one that could be decorated up. So, as you can see, we've really worked, and we've got 18 tucks now that are actually ready to go into my stash box. That was a bit of luck. That just ended up on there, and there's a pair there as well. So, made all of those. Great for a stash. As I said, I'm going to pause you now. I'm going to get my sewing machine out, and I'm going to sew around these just to show you what an extra element looks like. Okay, so I'll see you in a moment. So here we are, guys. I've done some stitching around these. As you can see, it just adds character. Now, you don't need to sew. I mean, I have sewn here because I've got a sewing machine, but you may not have a sewing machine. There are rubber stamps out there that have sewing stitches on them that you can use. And in a second I'm going to try and reach over because I think I know where my one is. Because yes, I don't always sew either. Sometimes I want a really quick effect and I will just use a rubber stamp on it. Now I use brown because I find sometimes black is a bit too dramatic, especially when I don't actually know what the final journal or project these are going to be used in. Okay, there you go. Now for those of you who've been counting, you'll notice there's 4 missing, and I'm going to explain that in a minute. So here you go. This is a stamp set by Stamperia. And Stamperia has different, it's got cross stitches, easy stitches, corner stitches, but just these alone you could stamp those details onto the edge of a journal card or a journal tuck and make it look as if it is stitched if you don't happen to have a sewing machine. So what I did was the ones that have got a stamp which is obviously in the wrong direction, which doesn't really bother me, but I know there's people out there who are going to go, oh, I couldn't live with that. Easy solution. Get another stamp and stick it over the top, guys. But don't always think you have to totally conceal the stamp below. Basically, you're just layering. So the only thing that really makes that look wrong is his face. So if I do that, and if it was straight, it would help. If I do that, that just looks like a couple of layered stamps. So where's the others? That goes there. Again, another one. I don't mind that like that, but you may mind that like that, especially if you're using it on that side. It's totally upside down. Grab yourself another stamp. I mean, you could come with another piece of washi as well if you really wanted to. So come in. I'm not going to try and cover up the butterfly, but I am going to cover up the words because the words are the things that make that look upside down. Another one, this one, if you use it this way, it could be okay. That way it would look a bit bizarre. So I've got myself another stamp. I pulled a colour out of the background, which was pink, and I chose the stamp because of that coloration. And again, I'm going to come in and I'm just going to put that in right there because no one knows what the stamp underneath is. They just see text on the side. They're not going to notice that the face underneath is upside down. And last one, this one is totally weird, which is a pity because I really love that stamp. So I pulled out another stamp that's the same colour, only because green is the right colour for this one, I feel. Oops, there's my Pritt stick. And I'm just going to pop that in there, slide it over a bit. There you go. So that's all of them done, guys. So hopefully you enjoyed that little craft along with me, or just watch, because as I said, I was just making. So as far as I thought, I just turn on the video camera. But there you go, there's 18 corner tucks now that I'm put into my stash box that I can use, and I would just decorate them up. So social media links as always. Love to see you liking, subscribing, following and sharing. That would be fabulous. Thank you very much. And this is Ceri the Crafter saying goodbye. Goodbye. That's Ceri the Crafter. See you next time. Bye.